Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. It's from Canto 2, which is entitled The Cosmic Manifestation. Chapter 6, which is entitled Purusha Shukta Confirmed. Excuse me. And this morning we're having text 22. And we're fortunate also to have a class given by Her Grace Vrindavanesvari Radhika, ISKCON Philadelphia. Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Good morning. Hare Krishna, everyone. Nice to see you. Please accept mine. All glories to Prabhupada.
Jai.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Astatarya Sata His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Astatarya Sata His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai.
Jai.
Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai.
Jai.
Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai.
Jai.
Prem Sikhaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadara Shiva Sati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai.
Jai.
Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakun Radha Kun Gitter Govardhan Ki Jai.
Jai.
Mayapurdam Ki Jai.
Jai.
Vrindavandam Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jamuna Devi Ki Jai.
Jai.
Ganga Devi Ki Jai.
Jai.
Tulsi Devi Ki Jai.
Jai.
Iskon Harrisburg Ki Jai.
Jai.
Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai.
Jai.
Gaur Premanande.
Hari Hari
Bol.
Bo.
All glories assembled devotees. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
All glories assembled devotees. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
All glories assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Hare Hare Bol.
Jai.
Nama Om
Vaishnavi.
Vishnupadaya Krishna Pasaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarane Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayana Namaskritha Naram Chaiva Narottama Devam Saraswatim Vyasyam Jatutayam Adhiryat Nastaprayashu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevya Bhagavati Uttamashloki Bhaktir Bhavati Naistaki. So here we are. We are in the second canto, 6th chapter. We're doing verse 22 today. So I will recite the Sanskrit 3 times, and then we can repeat. Yasmād aṇḍaṁ virāḍ jajñe bhūtendriya-guṇātmakaḥ dravyam atyagād viśvaṁ gobhiḥ sūrya ivātapan yasmād aṇḍaṁ virāḍ jajñe bhūtendriya-guṇātmakaḥ dravyam atyagād viśvaṁ gobhiḥ sūrya ivātapan yasmād aṇḍaṁ virāḍ jajñe bhūtendriya-guṇātmakaḥ dravyam atyagād viśvaṁ gobhiḥ sūrya ivātapan. Anyone else?
Yasmadandam Viradyage bhūtendriya-guṇātmakaḥ dravyam dravyam atyagād viśvaṁ gobhiḥ sūrya ivātapan. Hare Krishna.
Anyone? Hare Krishna. Anyone else?
Yasmādandam virājagye
bhūtendriya-guṇātmakaḥ tad dravyam atyagād viśvaṁ gobhiḥ sūrya ivātapan. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else? One more person. Get one more person. One more. Here we go.
यस्मादण्डं विराजके भूतेन्द्रियगुणात्मकः तद् द्रव्यम् अत्यगाद विश्वं गोभिः सूर्य ivātapan. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Yasmād, from whom? Aṇḍaṁ, the universal globes, virāḍ, and the gigantic universal form, yajñe, appeared, bhūta, elements, indriya, senses, guṇātmakaḥ, qualitative, dravyam, the universes and the universal form, etc. Atyagād, surpassed, viśvaṁ, all the universes, gobhiḥ, by the rays, sūrya, the sun, like, ivātapan, distributed rays and heat. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. From that personality of Godhead, all the universal globes and the universal form with all material elements, qualities, and senses are generated. Yet he is aloof from such material manifestations, like the sun, which is separate from its rays and heat. Purport. The supreme truth has been ascertained in the previous verse as Purusha or Purushottam, the supreme person. The absolute person is the Ishvara, or supreme controller, by his different energies. The ekapad vibhuti, manifestation of the material energy of the Lord, is just like one of the many mistresses of the Lord, by whom the Lord is not so much attracted as indicated in the language of Gita, being a prakriti. But the region of the tripad vibhuti, being a pure spiritual manifestation of the energy of the Lord, is, so to speak, more attractive to him. The Lord therefore generates the material manifestations by impregnating the material energy, and then within the manifestation, he explains himself as the gigantic form of the Vishvarupa. The Vishvarupa is what was shown, as it was shown to Arjuna, is not the original form of the Lord. The original form of the Lord is the transcendental form of Purushottam, or Krishna himself. It is very nicely explained herein that he expands himself just like the sun. The sun expands itself by its terrible heat and rays, yet the sun is always aloof from such rays and heat. The impersonalists take into consideration the rays of the Lord without any information on the tangible, transcendental, eternal form of the Lord known as Krishna. Therefore, Krishna in his supreme personal form with two hands and flute is bewildering for the impersonalists who can accommodate only the gigantic Vishvarupa of the Lord. They know that the rays of the sun are secondary to the sun, and similarly, the impersonal gigantic form of the Lord is also secondary to the personal form of Purushottam. Or they should know that, so they don't yet. The Brahma Samhita confirms this statement as follows. Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhava Tiba Bis Tabir Ya Eva Nija Rupataya Kalabi Goloka Eva Navashti Akilatma Bhuto Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, the one who enlivens the senses of everyone by his personal bodily rays, resides in the transcendental abode called Goloka. Yet he is present in every nook and corner of his creation by expansion of happy spiritual rays equal in power to his personal potency of bliss. He is therefore simultaneously personal and impersonal by his inconceivable potency, or he is the one without a second, displaying complete unity and a diversity of material and spiritual manifestations. He is separate from everything, and still nothing is different from him. Om Jnana Timiranja Jnana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmatam Yena Tashme Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svadvatantikam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadara Shiva Sati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Nam Om Vishnu Vidaya Krishna Prasad Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Churva Swaminiti Namane Snigta Teja Supernita Vadmanam Charasa Plutam Prabhupada Gata Prananam Bhakti Churva Swami. So I'm going to read the translation again, and then we'll dive into this a little bit. From that personality of Godhead, all the universal globes and the universal form with all material elements, qualities, and senses are generated. Yet he is aloof from such material manifestations, like the sun, which is separate from its rays and heat. So this section of the Bhagavatam is a little technical, but it's also getting very much into the qualities of the Lord, so that we are not confused. And it's really important that as we're considering all of this, and we're considering everything that we're learning in this section, why we're learning it. Because although it seems very technical, it seems also very esoteric in the sense of, how do we understand this? How do we wrap our material minds around this very elevated topic? How do we really truly come to understand what's being proposed here, what's being put out here? And so the thing that it's Prabhupada makes it clear here in this purport, he's saying that the impersonalists are only taking to the form of the Vishwarup, right? But we know that there's more to it than that. So when we only limit ourselves to the understanding of the universal form, we only see that that's the rays of the sun. When we take that as the only aspect of Krishna, of God, then we're missing the huge component, which is the Purushottam. This is the Bhagavan aspect, the personal aspect of God. And so as Vaishnavas in Bhakti, this is very important to us, and we want to really hold this knowledge close to our hearts in our truth, because when we come across someone that is only discussing the Vishwarup, the universal aspect of God, they are in a sense saying that the vastness of God, this universal form of God, is all that there is, but they're also not accepting this relationship as well. So then becomes this concept of merging, of losing the aspect of the ego, and all of that goes away, losing the individual self through that merging at the end of one's life. And this would be essentially almost an annihilation, right? Because this is not really, if we aim for that, we're losing that individuality as the sense of the soul. And the soul is ever present. And we know that, we learned that in Bhagavad Gita, that the soul cannot be cut, it cannot be burned, it cannot be destroyed by any matter. And so we know the soul, the impermanence of the soul. So if we were to take as truth that everything just disappears, we become one, it merges, all this is, then we lose that understanding of the soul being impermanent, the soul never destroyed, and it doesn't dissolve, it doesn't go away, right? So it becomes, when we go back to the Godhead, when we go to the Vaikuntha planets, then we are then also having an experience there in a spiritual body, but it is still as that individual soul. And so this is where it can get a little bit tricky, and this is why the Bhagavatam takes so much time. There's so many different chapters dedicated to this. It's discussed in the first canto, it's discussed in this canto, so it's discussed in the Bhagavad Gita. So why are these things repeated? Well, it's for emphasis, right? If we only hear it once, we may not remember it, it may not get through to us. But we know that when things are repeated multiple times in different shastra, they must be important. They must be very, very important. So here we're studying this because we need to understand that the originator, of the universe, the originator of all creation, is actually Krishna in his Purushottam form, in his personal form. And that is the emanation then of the Vishwarup. So if we have it backwards, or if we somehow think that there's nothing behind the emanation, where's the emanation coming from? right? Because if everything in the material world is a reflection, then we can take the simple example of the sun that Prabhupada's given us. So the sun is obviously beyond our conception in the sense of it's massive. It provides so much to our solar system. But what is the sun? The sun is actually a planet. It's a mass. It's a mass of energies. It's a mass of material energy. So, and then it emanates out. So if we use the sun as an example to say, well, everything in the material energies is just a kind of a mirror, but it's a perversion, or it's a, of the spiritual energies, then we have to come to understand that if the sun, in this sense, is a planet, it's an orb, and it's a very fiery orb, but it's there. And what we see and what we experience outside coming in are just expanded rays of the sun. And if that we've proven scientifically, right? We've proven this through space exploration, through telescopes. So we've been able to establish, yes, the sun is a glowing orb. We can see it in the sky. We can't look too far though. Look too long, we're going to hurt our eyes. But on an eclipse day, if you've ever taken the things with the dots in them, or if you had, like, one time my husband and I watched an eclipse. We actually were lucky enough to borrow a welder's helmet. And so we took turns putting the welder's helmet on so we could look right at the sun. It was amazing. And, when you really can see, oh, the sun's like, it's here. It's a circle in the sky. It's up there. It's like a planet. But when we can't look at that orb without a safety glasses on of some sort, we can only really experience the heat, and we experience the rays of sunlight coming onto us. So same thing with the energies of the Lord, right? Krishna's in his Purushottam is beyond our conception as well, because it's just so vast in the sense of he is this person behind the rays. Can we look directly at Krishna? We'd probably go into an ecstatic or trance, or something would happen, because Krishna is just so massive, and his energies are so powerful that if we were to actually gaze upon his form, in his original form of the Lord, it would be completely overwhelming to our senses. Even Arjuna, because Arjuna, when he saw Krishna, even in the universal form, we know, seeing Krishna in the universal form, he had to be given divya chakshu, right? So we know that to see Krishna in the universal form, he had to be given divya chakshu. But when he was standing next to him in his manifested form here in the material energies, Arjuna could see him. But if Arjuna were to try and see Krishna in that same form in the spiritual sky, it's not possible. He would need the spiritual vision. And Arjuna was given the spiritual vision to see the viśvaṁ, right? The universal energies. But when the Lord came, Arjuna said, wait, this is too much. He still had that viśvaṁ when he saw Krishna in his one four-armed form and his two-armed form. That viśvaṁ was still there. So, but when he was standing next to Arjuna in the manifestation into the material world, he's still spiritual, but he manifested into the material world so that his devotees could actually see him and experience pastimes with him. Then, they could understand him as Krishna. But even then, because they were under the influence of Yoga Maya, they still didn't fully understand who he was. So when Krishna's here, the vision's covered over, even still, either by Yoga Maya or by Mahamaya. So, and to be able to experience him in any of his forms that are not manifested here, you need to have that divya chakshu. We're here, we're in these material energies, we're here as humans, we have limited capacity. We have limited sight, we have limited intelligence, we have limited understanding. So what we're trying to do, and we're Srila Vyasadeva was enlightened to be able to give us this understanding and bring it to a way that we could at least understand words on a page. I was actually having a very hearty debate with another devotee this week recently, and it was a fun debate because we were going back and forth discussing a lot of these intense topics within the Bhagavatam. But ultimately, what it comes down to is we can't really debate these things. We have to understand that what is presented here is given it so for what our material minds can understand, but this is just a fraction of it. We can't understand everything. We cannot possibly have the ability to see and understand all of the Lord's creation and understand the Lord in all of his infinite qualities. So we are given this beautiful gift of the Srimad Bhagavatam to try and understand even the minutest bit of this, and the rest we have to just take on faith that we don't have the capacity to really fully truly understand these topics. So Prabhupada is here. He's talking about in this purport it's very nice how he's explaining things that the ekapad vibhuti manifestation of material energies of the Lord. These are the bina prakriti, right? These are the separated energies of the Lord. Okay, but we need to understand that all of these things, the separated energies, are explained here in Bhagavad Gita as the earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. So these are the separated material energies. And so Prabhupada, like I said, he's trying to help us understand bit by bit these little pieces of Krishna and his vast energies. So, and then in the purport in Bhagavad Gita, this is Bhagavad Gita 7.4, where he talks about these separated energies. That's the bina prakriti. Okay, it's the separated energies. He says in the purport, the science of God analyzes the constitutional position of God and his diverse energies. Material nature is called prakriti, or the energy of the Lord, and his different purusha incarnations, as described in the Narada Pancharatra. So here it says, for material creation, Lord Krishna's plenary expansion assumes 3 Vishnus. The first one, Mahavishnu, creates the total material energy is known as the Mahatattva. The second is Garbhadakshayi Vishnu, enters into all the universes to create the diversities of each of them. And the third is Kshirodakshayi Vishnu, which is diffused as the all-pervading supersoul. Okay? And so the material world is a temporary manifestation of one of the energies of the Lord. And so we know that these purushas are different aspects. But what is the Adi Purusham? Govindam Adi Purusham Tataham Panchamin. So this is the highest. Adi Purusham is the highest, and that's we know that to be Krishna. Krishna is in the Adi Purusham. He is the supreme of all of these. And so as we come to understand this, Prabhupada says that in the verse under discussion it is stated that Krishna is the original cause of the material manifestations. And this is what is often debated between Mayavadis and Vaishnavas, because they do not see Krishna as the ultimate eternal Adipurusham. They don't see him as the one that is the original cause of all causes of material manifestation. Somehow they're seeing that the expansion, the universal form is somehow cause of all of causes. Yet if we take the example of the sun, how could that be? Can the rays exist before the sun? No. We know that as fact. We know that the rays cannot exist without the sun emanating them. So then we must take this So we have to boil it down to an example that we can understand. We must take to understand that if the rays of the sun cannot exist without the sun globe, then the expansion, the rays of the universe, the energies of the universe cannot exist without Krishna, without the Adi Purusham, without Krishna behind all of it. And so this is a very important concept to remember, but we have to know how we get to that concept. And this is where Prabhupada is really helping to break all this down for us. Now, in this purport, Prabhupada goes on to talk about the, hold on a second. Yeah. So he goes on to talk about the Tripad Vibhuti, which was talked about in a couple of classes before this one. The Tripad Vibhuti is the manifestation of the Lord's energies, but we need to go back and do a review of a couple of classes ago where we understand that Tripad Vibhuti is 75% known as the internal potency of the Lord. This is the kingdom of God. This is the spiritual sky. So, and then we have the Pada Vibhuti is a 25%, which is his external energies. So where do we fall in all of this? So we have the internal energies, we have the external energies, which is all the mundane aspects of the material world. And the jivas, us, spirit souls, usually fall somewhere in the middle. We're what's called the marginal potencies, because we have the ability, we have the qualities of spiritual, we have some of the qualities of those spiritual energies. We have soul. The soul is, the soul is always carrying on. We have super soul in us, which is the expansion of the Lord. And we also have our ability to choose between the material energies and the spiritual energies. So it's said that we have the opportunity to choose, but it's really up to us on how we make those choices and whether or not we become more inclined toward the internal or the external energies of the Lord. And so that comes down to how we live our lives, how we choose to act in the material energies. Do we allow ourselves to continually be caught up, to be pulled into material energies, or do we say, wait a minute, I know that there's something else here, and then we give ourselves the opportunity to try and gradually shed our attachments to the material world, so that we can, as we shed, with each attachment that's shed, it opens up the opportunity for us to attach ourselves then to the Lord. So we can kind of think of all these kind of strings on us, right? And even from the when we see the pictures of the modes of material nature, we see their strings like puppets. And so if we see all those strings that are attached to us, if we take each string and detach it from a material desire, and then we now attach it to Krishna. Our goal is to take all of those strings and just keep reattaching them, essentially, because at some point we were attached to Krishna, but we chose to experience the material energies. So now we have to reattach those strings to Krishna. And that's the challenge. That's the challenge that we face here. And so going back to this understanding for today, that Krishna is Krishna is lording over all of the material energies, but yet he's also simultaneously aloof. And that's what's posted here in today's verse. He is aloof from material manifestations, but he's the progenitor of them. So how can that be that he is? This is the Achinta Beta Vedatma, simultaneously one and different. He has these qualities, but then he's aloof. So, and again, like I said, this is where we have to take some of this on faith in the Shastra and faith in the Parampara to understand what that truly means, that Krishna's energies are here, they're everywhere, but he's not on a daily basis interacting with them. He's not constantly interacting with the energies here. They're emanating out from him. And again, going back to the sun expansion, Prabhupada takes us again to that feeling of the heat and the rays. The sun is just there as the sun orb, as the sun planet, just in this, bright mass. But is the sun noticing, that one ray of light or heat that might be landing on someone's field to make the crops grow? Is the sun paying attention to that one ray of heat that's drying someone else's land completely, that it's arid and they have a water shortage? Is the sun carrying where this ray or that ray is going? So in that sense, the sun is just doing its thing. And where the rays land, so be it. So that is the conundrum that we are in too, that the Lord in this form is not directly involving himself in all where the energies land. However, the beauty of the three different aspects of the Lord is that the Paramatma form is there to accommodate the jivas, to help the jivas. So now we have this. So we have the Lord in, this Adi portion, this Lord behind, the creator behind all of this. But thanks to the mercy and the love of the Lord, he is instilled in each and every living entity. Each and every living entity, he has implanted a tiny spark of his own energy. Think about that. I mean, what kind of love is that? And today's Valentine's Day, so we can talk a little bit about love. What kind of love is that Krishna, even though he's aloof in his energies and as the energies emanate out, he's aloof from that. He's aloof from the wanderings or the activities that are happening in the material energies, yet simultaneously, he has implanted a tiny spark of himself, an expansion of himself in every single living entity as the Paramatma, as the super soul. So now we know that, wait a minute, there's that tiny spark of Krishna's in my heart, and I can receive guidance. That's Chaitya Guru. That Chaitya Guru is there to help the wanderings, as if seated in a vehicle, help, overseeing the wanderings of the living entity. Right? This is the Bhagavad Gita verse. So now we know that we can experience the Lord in three different ways. But we can only experience the Lord in one way, which is through Paramatma, because to experience the Lord's expansion in the Vishvarup we can't really experience that because we don't have what Arjuna was given, which was the Divya Chakshu. So that's not something we can directly experience. But we can have a relationship with the Lord in his personal form, in his original form, through bhakti. And because we can have that relationship, he's a person, that those energies are then brought into the temple through the deities. We can have that experience there. And so now we have the Paramatma, and we can experience the relationship with Purushottam in that way. But even still, we still don't have the eyes to see fully. So again, we have to have that faith, but trusting that the Lord is there with us in every moment. He is there through Paramatma. He is simultaneously observing, but keeping aloof from all of the energies in the material world, from all of the activities of the jiva. We see so many things happening here in the world, yet we don't know. Krishna is observing. Krishna through Paramatma is guiding. And we take that to trust that everything that's happening is the Lord's will. And we also take it to trust that we each have our own personal connection with the Lord and our own individual activities that we carry out accordingly. So I know that, again, like I said, this is a more technical topic. I just wanted to read one small section from the Krishna Sandarbha, which is written by Jiva Goswami. And it's really a little bit of a summary of what we just read, just a small paragraph. The Lord manifested the form of the Purusha before creating Mahatattva and manifesting the jivas. Why? He did this in order to manifest the places for the total and individual jivas as the universe. They had been merged within him. The appearance of Paramatma from Bhagavan is described in the third canto. Bhagavan eka e shidam agra atmanam manam vibhu atme chanugatava atmanana mata upakshana. So Bhagavan, who exists in the form of Paramatma and Brahman, according to the viewpoint, alone existed before the creation of the universe, when the desire to create bodies of the jivas was absent. So it's kind of an interesting topic an interesting concept to think about. But Krishna existed before all of this. Before all of this, he was there, and it's even going. It's even going further to say before the desire to create the bodies of the jivas. Wow, that's kind of crazy to think about. So I'll leave it there. I know, like I said, this is a lot to digest. These topics are very profound. They are very interesting to discuss as well. So let's hear it. See if you have any thoughts, comments, questions, anything.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for a very nice lecture and the analogies that you gave, and also the reference, the analogy about the sun and the sun's rays versus the sun disk itself. And very nice connection. I know Srila Prabhupada has given it, but I like the way you put it and added it to the lecture to explain it even more. Yeah, Krishna's energies are very, very, very diverse, and with our tiny brains, we can't understand everything, but still, enough's been given for us to get excited about it from Srimad Bhagavatam. Dear devotees, this is the time to unmute yourself. We have questions. If you have realizations that you want to share, questions to ask, dots to connect on things that you already know, and how this particular text and the explanation given sheds more light on it, this is the time to unmute yourself. Hare Krishna.
Yes, please. I definitely welcome some additional thoughts. And yes, Sarvanga Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Prabhupada.
Okay.
The devotees on the yeah, very nice class. Lot of points to think about. How you talked about the three potencies of the Lord, and then the small disagreement you had with your devotee friend about like points from Bhagavatam. From there, I was remembering a point the devotee was talking, like another devotee was telling in his class, was saying even he saw devotees debating, and later on he realized that like we plan a lot about our own life, and if not that, when we understand that okay, our plans are not going to work out, then we try to understand what is Lord's plan for us. We try to understand that thing. We try to find out, okay, like we try to speculate, okay, this is happening, so this might be my future. this is happening, so this might be my future. So that way we try to find out what God wants for me. But he says, no, even beyond that, one has to, like, it's not trying to find out what Lord wants me to do, or what Lord wants from me. It's more about surrendering to the will of the Lord, because ultimately it comes to that. Once we surrender to the will of the Lord, then we will be more satisfied and blissful. So that's what I remembered. So it was. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Nice points. Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We can debate these things, right? And sometimes debating with devotees helps to deepen our own understanding and our own faith. So it's not to say that we shouldn't, have these lively discussions, because we want to be discussing Bhagavatam. It is the highest topic to be discussing Bhagavatam. And but to your point, when we are trying to wrangle in our minds what we should be doing, we're trying to have conjecture, I suppose you could say, about what Krishna wants us to be doing. It can become very confusing, because ultimately, if we are trying to guess what Krishna wants for us, and we're trying to guess what Krishna wants us to do, we are going to get ourselves a bit spun up. So what do we do then? So we surrender 100%. We have to surrender to the Lord, and trust that things that are unfolding are due to the Lord's arrangement for us. The other thing, though, we have to keep in mind is it's important to keep close with devotees, association of those that are more advanced, our gurus, devotees that we trust, that are have a deeper understanding, that have maybe been on the path longer, that can help guide us. And sometimes, otherwise the ego can manifest things that we think are, oh, well, God told me to do this, Krishna told me to do this, so I'm going to do that because Krishna told me so. And we have to, and that's fine to have that deep conviction. At the same time, it's important for us to have association to have people in our lives that can help us check that and make sure that it is not our own mind concocting something based on our ego's desire to carry something out. And so the surrender is not easy, right? How do we surrender? We know that we have to carry out activities in these material energies. We cannot be inert. It is completely antithesis to the living entity to be inactive. So there has to be a field of activity. We know, and even it's discussed in chapter 13 in the Bhagavad Gita, there has to be some sort of this jnana, like there has to be some sort of field of activity. The living entity can't just be existing in a vacuum. So, but the problem with the living entity in this understanding is that we have our own ego, and we have our own desires and attachments to the material energies. So that in itself causes us to take actions and make decisions that may not be Krishna conscious. So then in that process of surrender is that we accept the consequences, that Krishna is delivering to us through karma, and we then accept those consequences. Conversely, when we do things for the benefit of the Lord or for the benefit of the devotees, and that we accept those consequences too, but we do that all in equanimity. And I think that, again, that comes back to another Bhagavad Gita verse, I think it's 2:14, that discusses that we need to really be equiposed in this process of surrender, because surrender does not always mean that things are going to be easy for us. And so through that process of surrender, you know, we may not always know what Krishna is exactly wanting us to do in every given situation. We're probably not going to know most of the time. It's not like we can just get a text Krishna and say, hey, what should I do? You know, and we're going to get an answer back. We can pray. We can, you know, we can pray and we can talk to devotees, but even still, we may not always have that clarity. So when that happens, we act because we are living entities and we must act. We must take action. You know, and then we accept with equanimity. We accept and we surrender to the results. We have to be able to surrender to the results in that equiposed state, because whatever action we take, we're not always going to be 100% sure that that's exactly what we should have been doing according to Krishna's plan. So then we have to, the true surrender comes in accepting the results that happen as, you know, due to our activities. So that was kind of a long-winded answer on that, but or a discussion point around that. But it's a good point. You know, we don't always know. We have to come to some sort of understanding of that, of taking action and what that's gonna end up, what the result of that action is going to be.
Right. Thank you very much. Wonderful explanation. Yeah, Krishna consciousness is quite an adventure. And speaking about that, if you don't mind, I'd like you to comment on some of the things that devotees who come for the first time, you know, to Krishna consciousness or been there in a short while, get literally hit with the realization, and that is having to control their senses. Because the regulative principles really put us in a situation where we have to control our senses. And at the same time, Krishna says, this is what Prabhupada saying, this is what you have to do, because we are replacing what is the lower form of living, is explained, and going for the higher form. But as far as controlling the senses, can you give some kind of ways or general overview of how that can be done, so a person who is new would feel comfortable to give it a shot, you know, trying to control the senses? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, good question. Yeah, well, I can say that, you know, if you talk about controlling the senses from Patanjali Yoga Sutras, then I'd say we have it pretty easy, right? We don't have to sit there and, like, you know, control our breath and sit in a certain pose and do all these things, right? But I think when we so from that standpoint, it's not so bad. But when we think about the four regulative principles, someone that's coming in that's new, I do tell them to take it slow. You know, the race is not for the swift. And if someone comes in and they're literally hit over the head by another devotee saying, you have to do this and you have to start chanting 16 rounds, that person's going to be like, no, thank you. And they're going to walk right back out the door, most of the people. So it's really important for us that are here already to make sure that we communicate clearly to people that are just coming in, that we meet them where they're at, and that we help them see the beauty of the relationship with Krishna first and the benefits of the relationship with Krishna. If we can help people see the benefits of the of cultivating a relationship with the Lord in terms of our own happiness, in terms of our peace of mind, in terms of you know, just our eternal life, when we can start helping someone see the benefits of that relationship or cultivating that relationship from that perspective, then as they are cultivating that relationship, like I said, the strings, right? They're naturally going to come on, you know, we're going to detach from the material, the material desires, and attach them to Krishna. So yes, I mean, the low-hanging fruit is, sure, we can say you should maybe not eat so much meat. You know, drink less. Don't try not to go to the bars and smoke cigarettes anymore. But these are difficult things for people to disconnect from. So the first thing I always encourage people to do is to say, focus on the purpose of bhakti. The purpose of bhakti is to cultivate that relationship, and over time, you know, if as we are progressing on our path over time, these four regulative principles will become so natural, because those activities will become so offensive to us. And so and then they will progress, and the four regs will improve and they'll get better. Prabhupada, we know that there was some of his disciples were still smoking cigarettes, and he was the one that was carving the Jagannath deities. So, and Prabhupada's like, okay, well, just try and let go of that, that last thing. You know, Prabhupada was so merciful because he recognized if you tell someone right out of the gate, you have to stop doing this, so you're never going to progress on this path. If they falsely renounce that Falgu Vairagya, if they falsely renounce all of those things right out of the gate without the true understanding of what they're renouncing for, and without the true knowledge and the desire to really cultivate a relationship with Krishna, then they're going to just rebound and have a lot of resentment around the process, quite frankly. We don't want that. So better to help someone feel love, help someone feel connection, help someone feel community. And through that process, over time, the other things will fall away. And if they know about the regulative principles without this mandate of pressure, because the initiation is where you have to really cut it off, right? But it takes people's years to get to that state of initiation. There's no rush. So until that point, it's a gradual process. And it's even after initiation, it's a gradual process because we're still working through anarthas, even at initiation. We're still working through attachments. So we may not be, you know, illicit sex, drinking, gambling, whatever, but we may be like watching too much TV, spending too much money on other things, you know, hanging out too much, whatever. So we are still always through that process working through getting rid of our attachments. So that would be again, I'm very long-winded today. I'm sorry. Another long-winded answer.
No, you're explaining it more and more and more. I beg to differ with you. This is actually the things that we need to hear, even for some of us who are, you know, now initiated and so on. We will meet new people, and you know, it's important for us to know you don't hit people over the head. No, viśvaṁ one time, if I could tell a quick story about this, about the same point he was making. You know, devotees, and he literally was just, you know, on the case of devotees who've been in for quite a while, how they treat new devotees. And he liked to dramatize things, so he just said, "You meet a new devotee," and he said, "Sarva dharma prityaja mame kam sarambaja aham tam sarva papibhyo mokshayishyami." And you expect them to just drop everything and run to the temple and become a devotee overnight. That's not going to happen. You know, so he was just explaining, you know, like that. Or you meet the devotee, okay, this is the temple. You cannot do this. You cannot do all of these negative things. So you made it. I'm glad you were long-winded on that one because it's quite important how and we're going to meet a lot of people. The majority of devotees, the majority of people are not devotees. So this is actually what we need to be to understand what you explained. So I really appreciate it very much. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Happy to. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Okay, so we're just on the hour, 9 o'clock now. Any final questions? If not, then, but are there any questions? Okay, if not, or there are not, it doesn't seem to be. So thank you very much, Vrindavanesvari Mataji, for coming on and giving such a lively lecture this morning and sparked some discussion also. Hare Krishna. So did we say at the end of the week or at the weekend to have a nice, wonderful Krishna conscious weekend. And thank you, Mataji, for coming on and giving such a nice lecture.
Thank you for having me again.
Vancha kalpatarubhasya kripa sindhya patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone.
Hare Krishna. Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Glory to Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.